And I'm going to challenge you in a little bit of a different way. It's not going to be I will do something, but it's going to be I will not do something. This I will not commitment is this: I will not be a church dropout. I have never preached on this subject before from the pulpit. And I've been pastoring now 26 years, and I got to thinking I've never preached on the subject of being a church dropout. All across America, people leave churches every week. Do you realize that? Every week, somebody is leaving a church in America. And people leave churches for a myriad of reasons. The vast majority of those reasons are based on preferences they have on secondary issues, not primary issues, but secondary issues that they are very opinionated about. Things like preferences on the style of music, or maybe they get upset that those on the platform are not wearing ties anymore, or maybe women are wearing pants to church now, or the church has discontinued a specific program or ministry that they really loved. And then some leave church because they don't like the pastor. I can't imagine that here. Maybe they don't like his personality. Maybe they don't like the way that he preaches. Some people leave churches because they have been disappointed or let down in some way. They feel that their church has let them down. Others leave church because they are disillusioned by something that was said or something that took place. Sometimes people leave church because they get their feelings hurt. Others leave church because they don't feel like they belong. They don't feel like they are needed in the church. They just don't feel like they fit. And the list could go on and on and on with why people leave churches every week. But the number one reason why people leave churches is because they don't get what they want. It's number one reason why people walk out the doors of a local church and they never come back. They think that the pastor maybe ought to do this, or the pastor ought to do that, or the pastor needs to stop doing this or stop doing that, and the pastor listens to their critique or their complaint, but then the pastor doesn't do what they want him to do, and so what do? They get upset and they leave the church. Can I just tell you that the focus of the pastor, that would be me and all the other pastors across America, the focus of the pastor cannot be to please all the members, but the focus has to be on pleasing God. Can you imagine trying to please all the members here at Canton Baptist Temple? Couple of thousand people that come off and on all throughout any given year, and trying to make each one of those people happy. My primary goal is to please God here at Canton Baptist Temple. I'm reminded of the words of Paul in Galatians 1, verse 10. For do I now persuade men or God? Or do I seek to please men? For if I yet pleased men, I should not be the servant of Christ. Paul is saying, who am I supposed to please? Am I supposed to please God, or am I supposed to please you? And I believe the emphasis of this verse is clearly that Paul is saying, I must please God. Amen. And he's saying, God forbid that I would please you, but not please God. On any given Sunday, several members may not like this or they may not like that, but what's important is that at the end of the day, I can lay my head on my pillow and know that God has been pleased. I want you to think with me about the church of Corinth. And if you have a Bible, I invite you to open it to 1 Corinthians, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a heads up. We're going to look at a lot of verses, and I'm going to make a lot of statements, and you're not going to even be able to keep up with writing it all down, okay? I'm just giving you a heads up. But I want to give you a picture of the church at Corinth. If there was ever a church where the members had a good reason to leave, it would have been the church at Corinth. I want you to think about that. Now, you say, well, I don't understand. What are you getting at? You'll understand once we go through these verses. If there was ever a church where the members probably had a good, legitimate reason to walk out the door and never come back, it would have been the church at Corinth. Let me mention some of the issues that the church at Corinth was dealing with. Number one, members had formed cliques and were following personalities within the church. That's something that we see as we read through the book of 1 Corinthians, is that the members of this church started following this personality or started following this personality, and they created kingdoms, little kingdoms within the local church at Corinth. This was a problem because what did it do? It caused division within the church. It was no longer unified as a church family or as a corporate entity, but now it was all divided based upon powerful personalities within the church. Listen to 1 Corinthians 3, verse 4. You're in 1 Corinthians. Go to chapter 3, verse 4. For while one saith, I am of Paul, and another, I am of Apollos. Now notice that. Some say, hey, I'm all about Paul. If Paul says it, I believe it. If Paul wants it, I want it. Wherever Paul goes, that's where I'm going. And somebody else says, no way, I'm all about Apollos. Apollos, boy, he's a better teacher than Paul is. And Apollos, he's the one that I want to be a part of his class, and I don't want to go to Paul's class. I want to go to Apollos' class. And you see the division that is taking place here. And in these verses, Paul reminds them that it's not about Paul, it's not about Apollos, it's about God. That's what he emphasizes here. Here's a church that was all divided over personalities, following various powerful staff personalities.